Benjamin Luke Cousins, once the Prince of the West, now the shame of AFL. My biggest role model and my greatest disappointment. I realised, though Ben was my role model, my idol, my hero even, all heroes are human, and all humans have insecurities that may grow into demons. The critical points seem to be how we manage our insecurities, how resilient we are, the judgments around the decisions we make, and our ability to reflect and learn, and not to keep making the same bad choices. Ben Cousins has lived the life of a god, and the life of a devil. A life Ben Cousins can only describe through his tattoo. Such is life. What does this mean? How could it get this bad? Ben Cousins was born on the 30th of June, 1978. Born to Brian, a very well-respected Victorian Football League Geelong player, and Stephanie Cousins. After 18 months, Ben's father moved clubs to the Western Australian team, Perth Football Club. Ben grew up living and breathing football. He grew up in the change rooms of his father's teammates, always holding a footy. He made the Western Australian schoolboys team when he was 14. It was said by the School Sports Australian scout that Ben didn't stand out as much as everybody had expected he would, and in many ways his performance was a disappointment. After schoolboys footy, Ben realised what it would require of him to become a professional footballer. He realised that he had an issue with his running, so he hired a professional running coach, the goal being to make him faster, more effective, stronger on takeoffs. The more I read and understood of Ben, I realised some of the similarities between himself and me as a young footballer. These similarities are: we both moved to Western Australia at a very young age. I grew up in a town that's main sport was AFL. I remembered watching my dad play with the town football team. Not necessarily to the same extent, but still watched as he was involved in lots of footy. After moving to Canberra in 2009, I made the under-12s ACT team and the under-14s development, of which I recognised that I had a large issue in not being vocal enough. So I became in contact with a sports psychologist who helped and guided me to improve my expression of voice and posture whilst on the field. I then made the ACT under-15s team, much like Ben Cousins. I have now grasped an understanding of some of the requirements to be an elite athlete. Ben was approached in 1995, aged 17, by 3 AFL clubs, all of which his father had played for. These were Geelong, Fremantle, and the West Coast Eagles. He chose to play for West Coast Eagles, as the Eagles were the largest club in Western Australia at the time, and he did not want to move to Victoria. Ben played for the West Coast Eagles reserve team, East Perth, and after 10 games at age 17, he played his first game for the Eagles, and soon after became a regular name within the team lineup. At the end of his first season, Ben Cousins received the Norwich Rising Star Award for the best up-and-coming player of the 1996 season. I can compare with Ben as I am playing for a junior team linked with the North East AFL League in Eastlake, similar to the way that Ben's football career began. I am currently focusing on moving my way up the Eastlake ladder, improving with every mistake and growing with every success, feeling confident and being prepared to take risks in the game. Although my future is not written on the wall, I would like to think that my career will be successful and that I am happy and being challenged in whatever I do. Again, much like the beginning of Ben's career. Ben and I have many similarities, not just in circumstances, but also in our mental passion and commitment. But this is where our similarities end. Our challenges are very different, almost polar opposites. Ben's greatest challenge was his mental dedication. He was said to be obsessive over his passions and perfectionistic in nature. These characteristics were both his strength and his Achilles heel. Ben Cousins was said to train with such intensity and dedication that he would leave even the greats of AFL questioning their commitment. Ben unfortunately came into contact with prescription medication such as Valium and Xanax. He used prescription drugs to wind down from the game to manage his anxieties and self-doubts after each game. These drugs were considered a gateway to much harder and addictive drugs such as ice, cocaine, and amphetamines. Ben's issues escalated when he began to reward himself with post-game and training hits. Ben's obsessive-compulsive behaviours meant that he was trying to make each training better than the last. And with each training, each hit became larger than the last. Ben believed that this combination was effective in his growth and success. He did not realise the impact of his behaviours on those around him and believed that the only impact was to him. His illusion could not have been more wrong. Ben Cousins was sent to a rehabilitation centre in LA, America, for a duration of 5 weeks by the AFL. After which, he believed he was still only affecting himself. The AFL and the West Coast Eagles cajoled Ben to make a public apology to rebuild the football's image and reputation. When Ben did apologise, there was a very obvious disconnection between what Ben said and what he believed. After Ben's apology and a long and tiring fitness schedule, he returned to the football from 15 weeks of absence. Just when it seemed Ben's life was back on track and in control, the Eagles made it to the finals, where in the elimination final against Port Adelaide, Ben tore his hamstring, ending all of his finals hopes. 20 days later, Ben Cousins' close friend and mentor, Chris Mainwaring, passed away, age 41, from a drug overdose. Ben being the last person involved with Chris the night of his passing. It was a crazy time, Ben had said. Everything stopped making sense. The controversy caused by the media over Chris's death was shattering Ben's image. This turn of events sparked a bender for Ben, which resulted in the arrest of Ben Cousins and the sacking from the West Coast Eagles. Ben is now a fencer and living with his parents. He has been arrested several times for irrational driving, possession of recreational drugs, night brawls, fleeing from police, entering private property, and a list of other misdemeanors, all due to recreational drugs and alcohol consumption. As a result of the drug use, Ben has developed a significant mental health disorder, of which he now experiences psychotic episodes on a regular occurrence. Ben, my hero, is human. We all experience challenges in our lives. But the key to this is how we manage these challenges, how we approach them. I have gained an awareness of the difference between going for broke and being overcautious. Going for broke is about risk taking and being highly impulsive, while being overly cautious is restrictive to being safe and within comfort zones and not trying new things. I have appreciated that there is a balance between going all out and playing safe. I have realized that to become successful at anything, I will need to take risks. However, I understand that in doing so will place large amounts of endangerment to my future. I have gained an understanding of how I can commit myself and focus on my football and schoolwork, and be able to direct my attention and focus. I have a much greater understanding of what it means to dedicate your life and efforts towards your passions. I have replicated this into my daily life with concerns to my schooling and sporting commitments. Thank you very much.